Hey everyone, welcome back to my car stories. As usual, sponsor is me and my second channel about POV driving, walking and exploring here in Japan. So today we are talking about something every driver in Japan needs to know, and this is speed limits. Whether you are renting a car for vacation or you live here, it's important to understand the rules. So let's dive in. First up, the 30 km an hour. You'll find these speed limits in residential areas, especially near schools, parks, and other places with lots of kids and pedestrian traffic. It has a width of maybe 1.5 cars, and it's probably the strictest zone for a reason: safety. It may feel slow, but with kids and pedestrians around, it's all about safety. Trust me, you don't want to hit somebody and then pay big money for rehabilitation for a long time. And for my foreign friends out there, if you see that Japanese people are speeding, remember they have passports and we are here on visas, and traffic violation could cost you that visa. Yeah, you've got to be extra careful, especially in zones like this. And by the way, speed signs with arrow to the right means that speed limit starts here, and on the opposite side, arrows to the left means that this is the end of the speed limit zone. So number 2, in city areas you'll usually see a speed limit of 50 km an hour. Usually you'll see the sign or it will be written on the road, on the pavement. This is most common limit in urban areas with a mix of pedestrians, cyclists and vehicles. So remember, speed cameras are around. And there are an official rule of thumb here. You might get away with around up to 5 km an hour over the limit in a city. But it's unofficial. It's better to just stick to the speed limit and avoid risking fine or losing your visa. As you start to leave the city or you're traveling through city to city, you usually see the limit go up to 60 km an hour. These roads are wider and have fewer pedestrians, but still within the city or suburban limits. And it is where things starts to feel a bit more comfortable, at least 2 lanes for each direction, but keep your eyes open, especially if you are on a road with cameras. Even on highways, people sometimes push it, but general roads, it's smart to stay within the limits. Next one. Some toll-free roads, especially in the rural areas, you might see 70 km an hour limit. These roads tend to be quieter with less traffic, but that doesn't mean you can relax too much, trust me. And while 70 km an hour feel like a sweet spot, it is crucial to follow the limit. Again, there are speed cameras even here, and as I mentioned before, the rule of thumb for expressway is you might get away with plus 9 km an hour over the limit, but it's not official, so better to play safe. And now we are hitting the highways. In Japan, the limit on expressways and highways usually 80 to 100 kilometers, depending on the road. Most of the time you will see 100 kilometers an hour limit on a long stretch of highways, but on the curved sections it's usually 80. Here an official rule is plus 29 km an hour, but honestly it's better to stick to the limit because it's only about cameras. Regular police car can stop you even for plus 1 km an hour, and getting caught speeding here can be huge hassle, and trust me, the fines are no joke. So let's talk about speed cameras more. So they're everywhere, in the cities, on the highways, you name it. And if you're not careful, you can get caught. And it doesn't take much to trigger those cameras. And also about the type of cameras. So first of all, you have mobile cameras. And usually they're in a city and not a lot of on the highway. On the highway, cameras usually fixed, and there are a lot of data sets and databases. For example, I'm using this one. It's called Obisu, because it's like in Japanese they call it Orbis, and there are like data sets that tells you where those cameras are. So be careful about that. So in the city, camera will catch you if you're going like plus 10 kilometers an hour, and on the highway it's usually plus 30. But again, it's unofficial. And usually what I'm doing is just going a little bit under the limit where the camera is. So if the limit is 100, I'm usually trying to go 98. If the limit is 80, I'm trying to go 78, right? I'm trying to go a little bit under the limit. And after the camera, I can go back to like to 80, 82, maybe, but because my GPS speed and my speedometer are different, right? My 82 on speedometer is actually around 80 kilometers an hour on GPS. So I'm not breaking the rules because I'm here on the visa and speed limit is speed limit for me. So you can be fine if you just keeping the speed limits and you don't go over it. And now let's go into the nitty-gritty. So what happens if you caught speeding? Well, fines and penalties depends on how much you exceed the limit. And let's break it down. For example, speeding more than 50 kilometers an hour over the limit gets you 12 points on your license. That's 19 points if you had a bit of to drink, and 25 if your alcohol level is pretty high, over 0.25. More than 50 kilometers an hour, it's 12 points. I will not talk about alcohol here. More than 30, but less than 50, it's 6 points. And if you're going more than 25 but less than 30, it's a 3 points. More than 20 but less than 25 is only 2 points. If you're going less than 20 kilometers an hour over the limit, it's gonna be 1 point. And a little bit about points. 6 to 8 points, your license is gonna be suspended for 30 days. 9 to 11, it's gonna be suspended for 60 days. And if you get more than 15, your license is gonna be cancelled and you need to take examination one more time. So it's pretty bad, don't risk it. And as you can see, alcohol adds a serious multiplier to your penalties, so don't drink and drive, right? Even if you're not afraid of penalties, come on, let's be responsible, okay? Not like don't drink and drive in Japan, just don't drink and drive, period. Don't do it, okay? Let's be responsible. I hope the people who watch me are responsible, so please, don't drink and drive. In Japan, it is a pretty strict thing, and even you can go to jail. So be careful about that. So what about the fines, the money? See here what you're looking at. Expressway, 35 kilometers an hour plus, but less than 40, 35,000 yen. 30 to 35, 25,000 yen. 25 to 30 kilometers, 18,000 yen. 20 to 25 kilometers, 15,000 yen. General roads, 15 to 20 kilometers, 12,000 yen. Less than 15, 9,000 yen. Yes, so wow, pretty big price. So there you have it, a full breakdown of Japanese speed limits, fines, and what happens if you get caught speeding. Remember, so if you're a foreigner like me, a traffic violation can mess with your visa status. So always follow the rules. Thanks for tuning in to my car stories. If you have a question, write it down in the comment section. Press a like, subscribe, and see you.